The story begins in December 2020, and the world is still struggling through the COVID-19 pandemic. Kim Gun-woo is a skilled boxer riding a bus home after a long day of training. The ride takes a bad turn when a drunk passenger starts creating chaos. True to his nature, Gun-woo steps in and handles the situation with a fighter's calm. When he finally reaches home, a different kind of trouble greets him. He overhears his mother on the phone, apologizing to someone because she cannot return money she owes them. The weight of his family's financial struggle lands on him hard. Elsewhere, a cunning businessman named Ma Young-gil sits across from a man named Hong, dangling an offer of 100 billion won to invest in his hotel. His vision includes a rooftop casino, a basement bar, and a quarantine wing suited to the pandemic climate. On his way back, Ma Young-gil reveals that this is all a calculated trap. Hong is already caught in his web, and the plan is to bleed him dry through an illegal operation. The following morning, Gun-woo competes in a boxing tournament. He punches his way through the competition and reaches the finals, where he faces Woo Jin, a loud and overconfident former Marine. Despite Woo Jin's attitude, Gun-woo ends the fight with a single clean knockout and walks away with a 10 million won prize. He later visits Woo Jin in the hospital, and the two discover they share more than just a love for boxing. Both carry painful pasts. Woo Jin initially holds a grudge, but it fades quickly, and the two become close friends. In one of their conversations, Woo Jin warns Gun-woo about predatory lenders who are circling desperate people hit hard by the pandemic. Gun-woo connects with this immediately, knowing his own family is buried in debt. He hands his mother the prize money to ease some of that burden. Walking home afterward, he spots a suspicious black car trailing him and grows uneasy about his family's safety. Ma Young-gil, meanwhile, tightens his grip on his victims, Gun-woo's mother among them. He lures struggling people away from banks by falsely claiming his agency provides better rates. His team disguises themselves as representatives of a government lending program and deceives small business owners into taking loans from him. Gun-woo has no idea any of this is happening. One day, he arrives at his gym only to find it shut down due to a pandemic-related infection. With free time on his hands, he rings Woo Jin, who invites him over. On his way, he spots a woman, Hyun-ju, beating up a man in the street. Gun-woo steps in to intervene, but she tells him firmly to back off. He has no idea what he is walking into. Hyun-ju turns out to be the granddaughter of President Choi, an older moneylender known for offering interest-free loans to people in genuine need. Her warning comes from a place of concern. She sees Gun-woo heading towards something dangerous. Back at Ma Young-gil's operation, orders come down to begin collecting from borrowers. His collectors show up at Gun-woo's mother's bakery, making aggressive demands. Not just the original loan, but a brutal 20% interest on top of it. When she refuses and threatens to go to the police, they trash the shop. She calls Gun-woo in a panic, and he rushes over, taking on the collectors without hesitation. Then Ma Young-gil arrives with a towering bodyguard by his side. Gun-woo fights hard, but the odds are too steep. He ends up beaten, bloodied, and unconscious on the floor in front of his mother. Ma Young-gil, oddly impressed by his courage, offers him a place in his operation. Gun-woo refuses without a second thought and spits in his face. Ma Young-gil's expression darkens. He pulls out a knife and carves a deep cut across Gun-woo's cheek before walking away. At the hospital, doctors treat Gun-woo's injuries. The wound on his cheek requires 30 stitches. The doctor tells him he narrowly avoids serious nerve damage and brings up the option of plastic surgery to minimize the scouring. The cost, however, is far beyond what Gun-woo can afford, so he accepts the scar and moves on. Woo Jin is outside waiting for him. While Gun-woo is being treated, Woo Jin sits with the loan contract from Smile Capital and reads through it carefully. The more he reads, the clearer it becomes. Ma Young-gil has deliberately trapped Gun-woo's mother in a fraudulent deal. Determined to do something about it, Woo Jin reaches out to a contact in the loan shark world, hoping to find a way to cover his friend's debt. Gun-woo catches part of the conversation and is struck by his friend's loyalty. Together, they visit the loan shark's office and hear the terms. Help is available, but it comes at a cost. They must work as collectors, hunting down borrowers who have fallen behind on payments. Gun-woo wants no part of it. Squeezing money out of struggling people goes against everything he stands for, and he turns the offer down without hesitation. Woo Jin looks at his friend, feels the weight of that decision, and walks away from the deal too. Woo Jin then thinks of another option. He contacts Mr. Moon, a former military colleague who now works under President Choi, a reformed moneylender running an interest-free loan service for people in genuine hardship. Mr. Moon listens to their situation and arranges for them to meet President Choi directly. While this unfolds, Hyun-ju is busy with her own investigation. She is tracking a fraudster with ties to Smile Capital who has been taking out enormous loans using the identities of vulnerable, unsuspecting people. President Choi meets with Gun-woo privately privately. He offers him a straightforward arrangement: work as Hyun-ju's personal bodyguard, and in return, his 100 million won debt disappears entirely. The generosity of the offer moves Gun-woo deeply, and he agrees on the spot. He goes straight to his mother and hands over the money to clear their debts. That evening, he and Woo-jin share a meal together, and for the first time in a long while, there is something light in the air between them. On the other side of the city, Myong-gil is dealing with his own pressure. Mr. Hong is threatening to expose his illegal activities unless he receives a large sum of money. Myong-gil attempts to keep the situation under control, but the tension between them refuses to settle. The next morning, Gun-woo and Woo-jin show up at President Choi's residence ready to begin. President Choi leaves the final call to Hyun-ju. When she arrives and sizes them up, the atmosphere grows uncomfortable. Woo-jin tries to win her over with charm, and it goes nowhere. Gun-woo takes a completely different approach. He drops to his knees and speaks plainly, asking her for just 1 month to prove himself and explaining what Smile Capital has done to his family. Something about his honesty gets through to her. Hyun-ju decides to bring them on board and waste no time putting them to work. She briefs them on a scam she has been investigating: a group of con artists posing as government officials and collecting ID cards from homeless people under the false promise of financial support from the state. She needs Gun-woo and Woo-jin to observe these men and gather information. The two follow the scammers into the subway and watch from a distance as the scheme plays out in real time. The con men approach homeless individuals, spin their false promises, and collect their identity cards. When one man refuses to go along with it, the scammers turn violent and begin attacking him. Hyun-ju's instructions were clear: stay back and observe. But watching an old man get beaten in front of him is something Gun-woo simply cannot stand by, and he rushes to help. Gun-woo and Woo-jin jump into the fight and take down the thugs. They call an ambulance for the injured man and make sure he gets help. But the moment Hyun-ju finds out what they did, she erupts. Their interference has blown her carefully planned operation, and she makes no effort to hide her anger. Woo-jin steps in and asks her to hear them out before passing judgment. The tension carries over to the library. Hyun-ju is still fuming and goes after Woo-jin hard. Gun-woo does not back down. He tells her directly that walking away while someone is being hurt is simply not something he is capable of doing, mission or not. His values are not up for negotiation, and he says so plainly. Woo-jin stands beside him. The air is heavy, but eventually Hyun-ju pulls back. She sends him a message a short while later, asking them to return. Her frustration is not completely dissolved, but somewhere underneath it, she appears to respect where they stand. The situation grows more complicated when Jae Myong, the fraudster under investigation, begins to sense something is off. He tells his Smile Capital associate, Jun Min, that he thinks a couple of young men have been tailing them and suspects they are connected to President Choi. Back at the library, Woo-jin is putting the pieces together. Jae Myong has been using the stolen identities of homeless people to take out loans worth millions of won. Hyun-ju sees an opening. If they play this right, they can recover the money from the loan sharks and even collect interest, turning the entire scheme against its creators. Before they can act on the idea, Jae Myong and Jun Min appear outside the library. The three of them move quickly, lights off, phones silenced, completely still. The ruse holds, and the two men eventually leave. But it is clear the group has been noticed. President Choi is not happy when he hears the details. He expresses disappointment in Hyun-ju for allowing things to escalate this far. But when he learns about Gun-woo's scar and the full picture of what Jae Myong has been doing, his tone softens into something closer to understanding. More of President Choi's past begins to surface. Myong-gil was once someone who worked under him, someone he trusted. That trust was shattered by a brutal act of betrayal. Myong-gil and an associate named Beam robbed President Choi and left him for dead. The memory clearly still sits with him, and it is evident the matter between them is far from resolved. Gun-woo, Woo-jin, and Hyun-ju talk through everything and reach the same conclusion: they need to move against Jae Myong and his crew. Beyond bringing down the scammers, protecting President Choi becomes a shared priority for all three of them. Across town, Myong-gil is deep in his own scheming. He is engineering a trap for hotel owner Mr. Hong through a casino setup designed to ruin him financially. To make his threat unmistakably clear, Myong-gil's people record a violent and degrading attack on Mr. Hong. There's no line Myong-gil will not cross to get what he wants. At the gym, President Choi sits with his memories. He revisits the betrayal, the robbery, the moment everything changed. Rather than breaking him, it seems to sharpen his determination, even if carrying it all has clearly worn him down over the years. The three meet up for a meal and talk through their next move. Hyun-ju, usually guarded, opens up about her past. She grew up without parents and found her way to President Choi, who took her in and looked after her. That history is the foundation of everything she does now. Then the situation hits closer to home. Wu Jin's aunt's restaurant is attacked. It is no longer just an investigation. People they love are now in the crosshairs. Wu Jin is furious and resolute. They push forward with their plan to expose Jae Myong, but he is already one step ahead. Jae Myong sends a large group of armed thugs to intercept them. Gun Woo and Wu Jin find themselves backed into a corner inside a subway station, the two fighters squaring up against an army, ready for what comes next. Late at night, President Choi makes a phone call to Do Young. Do Young jolts awake, takes a brief look at his pregnant wife sleeping beside him, and slips out into the darkness without a word. Down in the subway at that same moment, things are deteriorating fast. Jun Min spots Gun Woo and recognizes him immediately. He dispatches Jae Myong to Gun Woo's home with one clear objective: grab his mother. Above ground, Gun Woo and Wu Jin are already surrounded. A group of thugs descends on them, armed with baseball bats. The beating is savage, but neither man folds. They separate, work through the crowd systematically, and dismantle the group one by one using nothing but their fists. When Gun Woo gets pinned against a wall and overwhelmed, Wu Jin fights through to pull him out. Minutes later, the roles reverse, and Gun Woo breaks through to do the same for Wu Jin. The two refuse to let each other go down. Then, Hyun-ju arrives with her taser, and the tide finally shifts. Together, the three of them overpower the remaining thugs and manage to break free. Meanwhile, at Gun Woo's home, Jae Myong and his crew force their way inside. They wake his mother, So Yeon, and drag her out in a state of terror. Just as the situation looks completely hopeless, Yang Jung, one of President Choi's men, appears and neutralizes Jae Myong's associates one by one. He pursues Jae Myong, who is fleeing with So Yeon, and drives a blade into his ankle to bring him down. Shortly after, President Choi calls Gun Woo, Wu Jin, and Hyun-ju and tells them to come to his home. When they arrive, So Yeon is already there, shaken but alive, and visibly relieved to see her son. President Choi, however, is furious. He takes them down to the basement and speaks without softening a single word. He tells them this is not something to be treated carelessly. Lives are at stake, and their recklessness has already put innocent people in danger. He directs much of his anger at Hyun-ju, holding her responsible for drawing Gun Woo, his mother, and Wu Jin into this mess. He then arranges for So Yeon to be moved somewhere safe. President Choi accepts that the time for caution has passed. Myong-gil has to be stopped, and he is done waiting. He instructs his secretary, Mr. Oh, to conduct a thorough investigation into Myong-gil's entire operation. That night, alone, President Choi opens his personal vault and begins preparing. But as he moves, his body reminds him of its limits carved into him the day BM threw him from the top of a building. The next morning, Myong-gil visits the hospital where Jae Myong and the rest of the injured thugs are recovering. He hears that the men responsible fought with extraordinary precision and handled bladed weapons with skill. The information unsettles him. What troubles him further is seeing just how many of his men needed medical attention. Yang Jung, still firmly in President Choi's corner, sits down with his old ally Do Young to map out how they can bring this conflict to an end. Myong-gil, for his part, briefs his crew on President Choi's history, particularly the feared group of knife fighters who once operated under him. That crew was known for being utterly ruthless. Now only Yang Jung and Do Young remain from that era, but Myong-gil makes clear that two is more than enough to be dangerous. Hyun-ju takes Gun Woo and Wu Jin to a safe location to keep them out of reach. President Choi and his team begin planning their next move. A priority emerges. A large sum of money currently stored at the library needs to be relocated, and with their numbers thinned, they are short on reliable people. Yang Jung puts forward a straightforward suggestion: bring in Gun Woo and Wu Jin. Two men who took on 30 thugs with bare hands are exactly what they need. That evening, So Yeon cooks a meal for Hyun-ju and the boys. Hyun-ju sits with the warmth of it and is quietly moved. It is not something she has experienced before. The following morning, the plan is set in motion. Hyun-ju, Gun Woo, and Wu Jin head to the library to move the money. The operation takes a dangerous turn when they realize they may have been followed. Beam, the same man who once put President Choi off a building, is closing in on them. A brutal confrontation breaks out in the basement. Gun Woo and Wu Jin take Beam on together, using speed and strategy to chip away at his strength. They ultimately manage to stun him, though not without absorbing some punishing blows in the process. With Beam down, they move to regroup, but Jang-do, who had been hanging back the entire time, seizes the moment and grabs Hyun-ju. She refuses to surrender. Even with her hands restrained behind her back, she fights, twists the situation around, overpowers Jang-do, and locks him up using his own handcuffs. The group reunites and moves quickly to secure the money. But as they reach the collection point, 3 vehicles block their path. A high-speed chase erupts through the streets. Hyunju directs Gunwoo toward a hidden exit route, and they barely slip through, but the danger is not behind them yet. The chase continues at full speed, tearing through a tunnel with vehicles bearing down hard from behind. Hyunju and Woo Jin are sprinting through the streets carrying bags loaded with gold bars and cash. The escape seems to be working until they clock a group of thugs pouring out of a vehicle ahead. With no time to think, they abandon the bags. Gunwoo swoops in and creates just enough room in the vehicle by ditching 2 boxes of cash. They tear out of there with seconds to spare, the thugs unable to catch them. Back with President Choi, Yang Jung delivers troubling news. Myong-gil has been lending money to police officers, athletes, and public figures across the board. The scale of it catches President Choi off guard. He acknowledges that he severely underestimated Myong-gil's reach and carries the weight of a decision he now deeply regrets. Years ago, when Myong-gil came to him begging for another chance, he gave it to him. A call then comes in from the group reporting that the money from the safe is gone. President Choi brushes the loss aside. What matters to him is that everyone is safe. Yang Jung updates him on Beam, who sustained serious injuries and was left behind in the library basement. President Choi immediately suspects Myong-gil will arrange underground medical treatment for him, mirroring tactics he once used himself. He sends Du Yeon to locate where Beam is being treated. Myong-gil, meanwhile, is seething. He tears into his crew for how slowly they are moving and orders them to bribe whoever necessary to get hold of the security footage from the area. He is already several moves ahead, predicting that the group deliberately kept Beam alive as a trail to follow. He instructs Jangdu to watch for Du Yeon and makes it clear that Du Yeon needs to be eliminated, not Beam rescued. The next morning, President Choi crosses paths with Gunwoo returning from a run. He scolds him for not resting properly, then delivers unexpected news. The 100 million won debt has been fully cleared using the cash they recovered. He tells Gunwoo plainly that he is free to walk away, to build something quiet and peaceful with his mother. Gunwoo refuses. He feels a sense of obligation to President Choi and has no intention of stepping back until this is finished. The team convenes at Yang Jung's restaurant to map out their next move. The plan takes shape quickly. Hyunju pairs with Du Yeon to locate and intercept Junmin, while Gunwoo and Woo Jin team up with Yang Jung to deal with Beam and whatever remains of Myong-gil's crew. Speed is essential. Myong-gil may already be catching on. What follows is a series of focused training sessions. Yang Jung, drawing on his military background, drills Gunwoo and Woo Jin in knife combat techniques. Du Yeon works separately with Hyunju, teaching her how to strike effectively from a moving bicycle. When night falls, the plan activates. Hyunju and Du Yeon shadow Junmin through the city, while Yang Jung and the others position themselves outside the hospital, waiting for the right window. Inside the hospital, Beam regains consciousness and immediately begins lashing out at the people around him. When Junmin steps through the entrance, Du Yeon moves with precision and slashes his throat before slipping away. Moments later, a car clips Du Yeon's bike and 3 attackers close in on him. Hyunju reaches him in time, and between the 2 of them, they hold off the ambush and push through. With Junmin neutralized, Yang Jung leads Gunwoo and Woo Jin into the hospital. They move straight for the 7th floor, reaching it before Jangdu can react. He is subdued without much of a struggle and transported to Du Yeon's shop. What comes next is a brutal interrogation. Under pressure, Jangdu eventually breaks. He gives up everything. Details of a German safe containing videos used for blackmail, the methods Myong-gil uses to control people, and the location where his gold is stored. President Choi observes the entire session quietly. Afterward, he takes Gunwoo aside and walks him through the thinking behind it all, how to fracture an organization from the inside by turning its members against one another and eroding the trust that holds them together. He then approaches Jangdu directly with an offer, full freedom in exchange for continued cooperation. The information is now in their hands. The next move belongs to them, but so does the question of what Myong-gil is already planning on his end. Myong-gil subjects Mr. Hong Min Beam to a calculated session of fear and pain. He then turns his attention to his cousin, Inspector Min Gang-yong, issuing an ultimatum: locate Du Yeon's address within 5 hours or watch a damaging video destroy everything his family has built. Gang-yong buckles under the pressure and digs frantically through police surveillance records, desperate to protect his family's name. Across the city, Gunwoo and Woo Jin are heading back from Du Yeon's shop when a sobering reality is laid out for them. If Myong-gil successfully launches his casino, it is over. This operation is not simply about loans and gambling. It is about one man's calculated drive to seize control of South Korea's entire criminal economy. Du Yeon's ambitions of enormous wealth no longer sound like goals. They sound like warnings. President Choi, by contrast, lets his mind drift somewhere lighter. Rome, sunshine, distance from all of this. But rest is a luxury none of them can afford. Ma Yong-gil is already mobilizing, equipping his men with knives and bulletproof vests for a full assault. Back at President Choi's house, the team allows themselves a brief moment to breathe and share a drink. The mood, however, is far from celebratory. Everyone understands the urgency. They commit to tracking down a critical hard drive that could tilt the entire battle in their favor. Then comes a quieter moment. Du Yang mentions his pregnant wife to Yang Zheng, a rare human crack in an otherwise steel-hard world. Yang Zheng sends him home to her. But what waits is not warmth. President Choi shares the story of Hyeonju's father, a man driven to hang himself by Ma Yong-gil's cruelty. The room grows heavy. It is a reminder that every act of vengeance in this story is rooted in someone's complete and total devastation. Then everything collapses at once. Ma Yong-gil locates Du Yang's hideout and strikes without warning. Du Yang resists, but is quickly overpowered. Ma Yong-gil then makes a promise, reveal Yang Zheng's location, and his wife goes free. Du Yang gives it up. Ma Yong-gil murders them both anyway, Du Yang and his pregnant wife, without hesitation. The brutality is absolute. The night grows darker still. Yang Zheng is lured into a trap at the sashimi restaurant. He fights until there is nothing left in him, but it is not enough. He is killed with his own sword. Ma Yong-gil is not finished. He leads his men straight to President Choi's home. Wu Jin and President Choi are both caught in the onslaught. Wu Jin goes down fighting. President Choi, battered and broken, meets his end at Ma Yong-gil's hands, killed with a grotesque, almost deliberate calm. Gunwoo and Hyeonju return to find everything in ruins. The house is burning. Their allies are dead or barely breathing. They rush Wu Jin to the hospital, clinging to the one thread of hope still remaining. But even there, the odds are brutal. Blood supplies are critically low due to the pandemic, and the doctors are fighting an uphill battle just to keep him alive. At the hospital, Wu Jin's condition is critical. The doctors are stretched thin, blood supplies are running dangerously low, and his chances look bleak. Gunwoo steps forward without hesitation. He shares Wu Jin's blood type and insists the medical staff take whatever they need from him. Outside the operating room, Hyeonju sits consumed by grief, her thoughts fixed on President Choi. Then, without a word to anyone, she gets up and walks out. Gunwoo watches her go, lost and heartbroken. 6 months pass. It is now June 2021. Gunwoo and Wu Jin are deep in the countryside, pushing themselves through grueling daily training under Mr. Oh, President Choi's former secretary. The sessions are relentless and purposeful. Every drill, every rep is preparation for the confrontation with Ma Yong-gil that both men know is coming. Mr. Oh thinks the whole idea is reckless. Gunwoo and Wu Jin do not care. They want justice for President Choi, Yang Zheng, and Du Yang, and nothing is going to pull them off that path. The mission takes an emotional blow when Mr. Oh visits President Choi's grave and discovers a letter from Hyeonju. She has gone to Rome. She blames herself for everything that unraveled and has chosen distance over the weight of those memories. The letter breaks something in Mr. Oh. He sits with the grief, and eventually his resistance softens. He decides to help. He sends Gunwoo and Wu Jin back to Seoul, equipping them with 300 million won from President Choi's hidden reserves. Back in the city, they settle into the apartment of Mr. Oh's granddaughter Tu-min, a sharp, no-nonsense woman who wastes no time poking fun at both of them. There is no room for that, though. They have work to do. The first debate is over where to begin. Gunwoo wants to go straight after Jae Myung. Wu Jin thinks building alliances comes first. The argument gets shelved when they discover Mr. Oh has left them a convertible. They have wheels, they have money, and they have a score to settle. They begin reaching out, and one of the people they connect with is Mr. Moon, someone Ma Yong-gil has already chewed up and discarded. His account of betrayal and loss only sharpens their focus. Around the same time, word spreads that Ma Yong-gil is growing increasingly unstable, turning against his own people and eyeing new territory, including a golf course takeover. The threat he poses is expanding. They track down Mr. Hong Min-beom, one of Ma Yong-gil's most significant victims, who is desperate to claw back his dignity. Gunwoo and Wu Jin reach out with a direct offer. Help them, and they will destroy the blackmail video Ma Yong-gil holds over him. Before Min-beom can even process the offer, Ma Yong-gil summons and beats him savagely, making sure he remembers who controls him. Min-beom and his brother Gang-yeon arrange a meeting with Gunwoo and Wu Jin at a private bar. Their actual plan is to loosen the two up with alcohol and extract whatever information they can. It backfires completely. 3 bottles in, Gunwoo is completely unaffected while Min-beom and Gang-yeon are flat on the floor. The next morning, nursing hangovers over ramen, Gunwoo lays out a bold plan, hack Ma Yong-gil's phone and crack open his high-security safe. The risk is enormous, but so is the potential payoff. A reluctant Min Byum agrees to do his part. The operation kicks off under immediate pressure. Ma Young-gil is using a decoy phone, which means he is already anticipating something. The team adapts fast. They push Min Byum to reconnect to the correct Wi-Fi network so their hacker can reach the real device. Everyone watches in tense silence as the security system begins to crack, and then the contents are wiped clean. It is a focused, decisive win. The relief is brief. Ma Young-gil discovers the hard drive has been erased almost immediately. His anger is instant and cold. He reaches out to a contact inside the Serious Crimes Division, making one thing unmistakably clear: this fight is nowhere near finished. At the police station, Officer Kim Jae-min is quietly working through the process of unlocking President Choi's phone on Ma Young-gil's behalf. His focus breaks when Gang Yeon walks in carrying the kind of confidence that comes from having just closed a case. He casually drops the news that his team has taken down a loan shark who kept recorded footage of his victims. Jae-min absorbs the information and immediately gets Ma Young-gil on the phone. He has something valuable, and he wants something in return. He tells Ma Young-gil about the list of victims and offers to hand it over for the right price. Ma Young-gil counters with his own request: details on Mr. O. His men are already moving. Within a short time, Mr. O is seized and held captive, reduced to a bargaining chip in Ma Young-gil's escalating power play. Gunwoo and Woo Jin are not standing still. They join forces with Jae Myon to dig up damaging information on In Byum. When they need a machine to work with, they head straight to Damon's apartment and take over her computer. She is not pleased. Daemin is particular about her space, and the presence of two men she describes as carrying a distinct lonely man smell does not sit well with her. Woo Jin promises, half seriously, to deal with the issue before they leave. The tension breaks and she lets it go. Then a message arrives from In Byum, a photo of Mr. O, unconscious and unresponsive. He wants to meet at an abandoned mall. Daemin, sharp and composed beneath her quirky exterior, insists on coming. She is a skilled archer, and once she commits to something, there is no talking her out of it. Inside the mall, chaos takes over immediately. Gunwoo and Woo Jin tear through 30 armed men using nothing but their hands, moving with a kind of controlled aggression that leaves bodies on the floor in every direction. Daemin holds her own from range, her archery dismantling the odds with calm precision. Byum and Mr. Jung struggle to contain the situation. When Byum steps up to face Gunwoo directly, it is the worst decision he makes all night. A single punch drops him cold. Mr. Moon, still recovering from an injury, rips off his cast and throws himself into the fight. He gets to Byum and extracts the information they need about Mr. O's location through methods that are neither gentle nor forgettable. The trail leads them to a fish farm where Ma Young-gil is holding Mr. O. In the rescue, Daemin delivers a perfectly placed arrow at exactly the right moment, and Mr. O is freed. Ma Young-gil, however, slips away before anyone can reach him. When the police move in on Ma Young-gil's base, what they find is more than enough to bury him. Jae-min, caught in the middle of everything he helped set in motion, is arrested. With that chapter closing, Gunwoo and Woo Jin visit their allies still recovering in hospital, but the mission is not fully complete. Word reaches them that Ma Young-gil is planning to flee to Vietnam, taking his gold with him. They track him to a ship headed out of South Korea and board it. What follows is the final confrontation: exhausting, bruising, and absolute. Tasers, fists, and sheer refusal to quit carry them through. Ma Young-gil and his men are finished. The gold is recovered after a tense and complicated process. They contact Min Byum, who arrives in time to help bring everyone safely back home. The gold, valued at 84 billion won, becomes the foundation of something lasting. A welfare organization is established, and with it, a hospital is built, something President Choi had always envisioned. Gunwoo makes one final request: that the hospital carry President Choi's name, a permanent tribute to the man who gave them all a reason to fight.